Join us on the Veteran Hour with host Levi Miller and host Thomas Lukin. They invite veterans to come on and talk about their experience that they had in service. The hosts also talk about claims, Agent Orange, and much more. The Veteran Hour is 7 days a week from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Please tune in. And also, thank you for your service.
In your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7. 24/7.
You're listening to the hottest internet station,
WLMR Radio. Welcome to the Veteran Show. I'm one of the hosts, Levi Miller.
And I'm Tom Lukin, the other host. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. I'd like to welcome our guest tonight. His name is Jeremy Stanton. I think he's a distant cousin, by the way. That's my mom's maiden name, Jeremy.
Jeremy, you're in trouble.
I'd like to welcome Jeremy. Jeremy, so everybody knows, is an Air Force veteran. He's also a veteran business owner, actually in the same town I live in Troy, Illinois. But Jeremy, I'd like to welcome you to the show, and do me a favor, when you say hi, no, I'm teasing, just go ahead and give us a background.
Right on. Well, first and foremost, folks, thanks. I really appreciate it, guys. I love the opportunity to sit down and chat with y'all. I don't really appreciate you dropping the bomb on me that you may be my father on the radio.
Jeremy.
But no, in all sincerity, I'm real happy to be here. So anyway,
I deserve that one, by the way.
Yes, you do, 100%, brother. 100%. I'm gonna let you own that one. So I am an Air Force vet. I'm not, like y'all said earlier. I'm super excited and proud to be the first Air Force vet to be on the program.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah. So I hail from the St. Louis metro area here in the Midwest. Lived all over the world. My mom had me when she was very, very young, so we moved all over, just trying to find somewhere she could afford to raise me. Eventually, I come back here to the St. Louis area, where my grandparents finished raising me for junior high and high school. That's where I met my wonderful wife, Lindsay. We got married a year out of high school and took off together down to our first duty station down at McDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. We stayed there for just a couple of years where she went to school, and I was a slick sleeve airman doing my thing on the enlisted side, trying to learn my job, my AFST, what y'all know, your MOS, and I was what y'all would refer to as a Corps of Engineer type troop. I was working power plants and generators, doing a lot of leg work to keep power on, and in deployed locations and whatnot. So I did deploy at a very, very young age. My first deployment was over to Kuwait. But before I could get to Kuwait, you had to, anytime you entered the AOR as an Air Force member, you had to go through Khobar Towers in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And this was June of 1996, I believe. I hadn't even finished my upgrade training, out of my test score, my AIT or whatever, and they sent me over there. So I'm hanging out in Saudi Arabia with a buddy of mine that I went through some schools with prior, and I got on a rotator, a C-130, and headed over to Kuwait, and wouldn't you know it, they blew up our damn dormitory. And
wow, you got
yeah, man, yeah, it was crazy, man. Having to
I think I remember that. I was over.
What's that, buddy?
But I said I was over. I was supposed back in Korea at that time.
Yeah, right on. It sent shockwaves around the world, man. It was, it was the first big event like that, I believe, since the, maybe it was the Marine incident, when their dormitories got bombed. But long story short, we lost 19 airmen that day, and one of them was my good buddy, Airman First Class Christopher B. Lester, and he was in my dormitory whenever it happened, my dorm room when it happened. So I never got a chance to go back, and I served out the rest of that deployment with that on my shoulders, and that sort of set the pace for the rest of my career. Not a good pace, obviously.
Okay.
Right? I was a nose down, head first leader. I'm proud. I'm not ashamed at all to say that I won multiple leadership awards from basic training all the way up until the end of my service. But that sort of set the tone, and I always dealt with a lot of guilt from that, from being somebody that made it out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up retraining or reclassifying out of civil engineering into communications. So sort of like your 22 Bravos over in the Army now. I was what we called then a 3 Charlie, or what's now called a 3 Delta. And so anyway, I got sent over to Germany. I called up my career field manager and said, hey, I need to retrain. She said, I said, I'm sorry, I didn't say I wanted to retrain. I said I wanted to get over to Europe. I wanted to travel with my wife. We were young. And this Chief Master Sergeant, the C9, she says to me, she says, well, you wouldn't believe the amount of people we have that want to go over there and how few jobs there are. I said, all right, well, maybe I'll get my chance, whatever. And I'm not kidding, man. 2 days later, this gal calls me back, and she says, hey, I can get you to Ramstein, Germany, but you got to be there in like 3 weeks. And as well as I do, guys, moving stuff and paperwork, it takes a lot longer than 3 weeks,
Oh, yeah. Yes, it do.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, yeah. So it can be a real mess. So anyway, man, lo and behold, they got us over there. Well, one of the reasons for wanting to go over there was my civil engineering position. I knew I was always going to be deploying over the AOR because everybody needed power over there. And so when I got, the word that I could go to Europe, I got excited whenever I was going to a communications squadron. And then I found out it was a combat communications squadron. And guess what? What do? You deploy, right? So it was, not a big deal, man. It was probably the best move I ever did because coming out of that, we did some fun stuff. We got to train a lot of good people. And what the unit would do is we'd go in and we'd set up communications, and then maybe Army or somebody take it over whenever they got there. And then they'd run the network. We'd go on to another location and do it again. Set up secure SATCOM, network comm, telephone comms, the power, obviously, all that stuff. And it was a fun gig. So anyway, and then, I mentioned earlier my grandma and grandpa raised me, my later adolescence back here in the St. Louis area. So my grandfather was dying of cancer. And I went to my military personnel flight, and I said, hey, listen, I said, my second term is just about up here. If y'all can't get me back to Scott Air Force Base and, so I can be with my pops, then I'm going to have to go ahead and punch. And it broke my heart to say that. Like, once I got in, I found out I was built for the military, y'all.
Okay.
I was, like I said earlier, I was nose down and head first 24/7. And so anyway, they told me they couldn't do it. Well, here we go again, man. Another, hurry up and wait thing. A couple months later, this young airman first class, which for us was an E2, E3, and they're not really supposed to go above and beyond. At least not back then. We didn't. Young airmen was just sort of learning the ropes and doing their job. Well, this cat calls me back into MPF and he says, hey man, I know we told you that we couldn't get you a position, and I didn't process your separation paperwork. I kept on working and trying to find you a position. And you can imagine, as a young guy, I'm sitting there sort of floored by all this. I'm thinking, who in the hell is this guy to put his ass on the line for me? Because who the hell am I? And I'll be damned, man. This young kid, he got me a position back in Scott where I came back and I helped my grandfather, and I got to really enjoy his last days. And, I'll never forget it, man. My old boss there, Master Sergeant, and well, I guess I can say his name now because he ain't gonna get in trouble now. Hell, he's retired. He told me, he said, Jeremy, he said, I know you don't have enough leave. He said, take off, keep your uniform with you, keep a phone next to you, and call me. Let me know how he's doing. And so for about a month, I just fed my pops morphine and helped him pass as gracefully as he could. And so, that took me up to right around my 10-year point, and we hadn't started to have children yet. And I said, I can't have children while I'm in a position that requires me to deploy because I was still really affected by losing my buddy. And something that I failed to mention was another big occurrence or a big happening. We were on a mission that I can't disclose where we were because I don't even know if it's still classified, but we had went to a location to conduct a small mission, and it was just an intel gathering mission, and it happened to be in a public venue. It was in a little restaurant or cafe, and within about an hour of us leaving, a suicide bomber went in and blew the place up.
No.
So they lost 18 civilians that day. And so, I was never a bullet catcher. I was never on the front line. But it seemed like every time I deployed, some bad shit happened. And so to this day, I deal with all that, and it really, really helped or made that decision for me to get out a lot easier.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I did get out, and I went on to work as a defense contractor, and then eventually as a GS-12 for a few years. And there's not a day, fellas, that goes by that I don't miss putting those boots on. I mean, when my feet hit the floor in the morning, every single morning, and I really haven't told many people this, first thing I think about is my feet sliding in my boots. And I miss the hell out of it. And
Jeremy,
I think
you're not the only one.
No, I know, but I think a big part of that is that when I left, and without getting too dramatic here, or in the weeds, but I think when I left, I felt like I was leaving my troops because I enjoyed leading my troops and helping them become better, NCOs and whatnot. And so I dealt with that for a long time after I got out. And then eventually the VA told me, hey, man, you're suffering from what we call PTSD. And I said, man, get out of here. I said, you guys are cool. I said, I ran into some hairy stuff here and there, but, I was never the guy that, that served 5 tours in Iraq. That wasn't me. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. This is how it is. And so I got angry about that. And so anyway, so that's, that gets us up about to where we are now. I got a couple kids. I got a 9-year-old, I got an 11-year-old girl and a boy. I do coach youth football on the side. I've got a career. I've got a small business that I've started. But it all really, everything I've done has been thanks to my time in uniform, and I sort of owe it everything. And so that's sort of me in a nutshell.
Well, the uniform, you talk about putting the boots on. I'll be 54 here shortly, and I spent 19 years plus of my life around the military. And half of that was half of that was as a soldier, the other half as a contractor. And even as a contractor, some ways I loved it because I wasn't GS. As a contractor, I worked with the military, so you kind of had a little more free hand. You didn't have to deal with some of the bullshit. You have to deal with some sometimes, but you didn't have to deal with a lot of the BS that goes with it. And I think about to this day, it's been in 2000 I came back from Korea, and that was the last time I worked at the military. And I tell you what, when I got back in the civilian world in 2000, Jeremy, I might have been a civilian for 9 years by then, but I didn't know what it was like to be a civilian. I got back here and started working for some of these damn civilian companies, and oh my God, I changed jobs in 11 years until I went on disability initially. I changed jobs 4 times in that period because I worked 2, 3 years, 4 years. I get pissed off with them. I go somewhere else, and of course, my line of business as a roving technician, I was able to easily find another job, but. It's just the military, the camaraderie it offers.
That's true.
It's just a different world, and that's why I've always said, Jeremy, when I meet somebody and they say you're a veteran, I've found with most veterans, we don't have to explain to each other what it is to be a veteran. All you have to do is say you're a veteran, and you understand, irrelevant what branch you served, when you served. All you have to do is say I'm a veteran, and that explains a lot to me personally. When another person says I'm a veteran, I don't need to know all the other stuff. As soon as you say you're a veteran, I understand it more than you might realize.
Right.
That's me. So, and anymore, that's I've had a problem. I mean, I deal with PTSD, and I deal with my son John deal with. Poor Jeffrey's stuck dealing with both of us, by the way, Jeremy.
Hey, Thomas, let's go to quick.
My experience with USAA is awesome. Homeowners insurance, life insurance, automobile insurance. I spent 20 years active duty. They still refer to me as gunnery sergeant when I call. Being a USAA member because of my service in the military, to pass that on to my kids, something that makes me happy. My name is Roger Zapata, and I'm a USAA member for life.
USAA. We know what it means to serve. Get an insurance quote and see why 92% of our members plan to stay for life.
In your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7. 24/7.
You're listening to the hottest internet station.
WLMR Radio. All right, Tom, we ready?
All right, we're back from the commercial. How many years did you end up spending in the service, Jeremy? Total.
It was right under 10, and then did some contractor work for Northrop Grumman and Nortel, doing some communications work. And I was just basically doing that to bide my time until I could get a civil service spot there on Scott Air Force Base. And after, a couple of years doing contract work, I got picked up in a GS-12 slot in the Air Force Network Communications Center, which is now Air Force Network Integration Center. And I got picked up to run a common and information credentialing or certification program for the entire Air Force. So it was, I was sort of the guy at the tip of the spear that was making sure that all of our common information professionals out in the field, about 25,000 at any given time, were certified commercially in whatever their specialty was. And that was as per the DOD, down. They told all the service components, hey guys, you got to do this. Air Force said, hey, we don't want to, and everybody else said, okay, we're cool. So we had to do it. So even though we non-concurred as a service, they told us to do it. And, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just happy I was, a young guy without a degree being hired into a common information position on the staff, as a staff position, as a, no degree, no nothing, as a GS-12. So, hell, they could have told me to do anything and I would have done it. You know what I mean?
Right, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. So you know how it is, man. You get out there and give me a job. Give me a job, And,
you're still in that position then?
No. I walked away from civil service life in 2010. And
okay.
So I was a part of the DOD in one form or another between 1995 and 2010, so 15 years total.
Okay.
I left my civil service position because, going from an active duty guy, serving some of the time in the AOR, a lot of the time in Europe, coming back home to the States, you sort of put on the brakes, and, I thought I could handle it, and just sitting at a desk like that day after day, and having, my own boss and my boss's boss tell me, well, we know that'll help the troops, but it's not really in our lane, and that's not really our job. And I'd say, well, it doesn't cost us any money, or maybe it's a little bit of money, but I can really help them. And they just kept saying no. And, the whole time I'm sitting around and, like, there's this cat down the cubicle row there that's sleeping at his desk and nobody says anything. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't keep being a part of this.
Okay.
I felt guilty, So I jumped ship and, being in the education world, I got to know a lot of big education companies out in the private sector that did contract work with the government. And I was brought on to run the Air Force business for a training company, and worked with them for 6 years. And I'm still doing the exact same thing, but I've just recently transitioned to a much smaller company that provides a lot more flexibility and a lot more sort of free reign. It's almost like going from an old, Fortune 500 company down to a startup is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a very, very experienced team, very, very knowledgeable president, CEO. There's only, I think, like 10 or 12 of us in the company. So I do that, Monday through Friday. That's my day job. And then in the evenings and on the weekends, I'm starting up my own business.
Okay.
And I'll keep on doing both as long as I can.
Now, speaking of your business, please do me a favor, indulge in what your business is that you do on the side.
Oh,
I mean, I'm familiar with it, but give it to the listeners. And in fact, I'm so familiar with it. I got your picture in my bathroom.
Uh-oh.
Wow. Okay.
That's where I keep the oil, Jerry. It's in the bathroom in the cupboard.
Watch out, Jeremy.
As long as you didn't take a picture and hang it on the wall or something, then we're okay.
No, it's a picture in the bottle in the box.
Oh.
In the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'll tell Douglas Levi that, Jerry sits in the bathroom watching me use it.
Oh, no, come on. Man, all right, so everybody's got to be wondering now, what in the hell does this guy do if my face is in your bathroom, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm not selling toilet paper. I'm not selling baby wipes. I'm not selling shampoo. No, man. What happened was, I've got a lot of tattoos. I got a beard. I got a big old beard. I started growing it as soon as I could when I exited active duty. And, a lot of guys use what they call beard oil. And so I didn't find any I liked. It all seemed very simplistic and not very beneficial. So it was a waste of money to me. So I started doing some research, and I formulated a product that I was just using for myself and my buddies. I'm also big into craft beer and whiskey, and they do a lot of barrel aging using old oak barrels, not old, but oak barrels.
Right.
And so I went on a hunt for used whiskey barrels.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, those things are not easy to come by, man. People, for one, a lot of your brewers have first rights of refusal to those barrels from the wineries, or the vineyards, or the whiskey houses, or wherever. And then if you do find somebody that's willing to sell you one, they're going to charge an arm and a leg for it because the craft brewing industry is so massive right now. And I said, well, I don't want to use this for beer. I'm doing this other thing. And they just sort of looked at me cockeyed like, why the hell would you put an oil in a barrel? And they just shook their head. They didn't understand. And I said, well, I don't know if it's going to work, but I want to see if it will. So finally, Square One Brewing and Distillery out of St. Louis, Missouri was nice enough to sell me a few small 5-gallon, small batch barrels. And when I say nice enough to sell them to me, I mean that. I mean, they didn't have to. So lo and behold, man, I went ahead and I put the oil that I mixed. It's all based in vitamin E oil. I put it in the barrel along with some raw pipe tobacco, some raw Madagascar vanilla beans, and some Texas cedarwood. And a few months later, I pulled the bung out of the barrel, and I said, oh my goodness, somebody's going to come smell this because I think I just did something right. And lo and behold, well, really all over the world now, they're just loving it. I and so I obviously went on to create a company to manufacture and sell this stuff, and it's all very hyper local. I've since went on. I now also work with another distiller here locally, a company by the name of Still 630. They're in downtown St. Louis. I'm going to be using their barrels from now on, so. You know, it went from doing something literally on my bathroom counter that my wife said, hey, that smells pretty good. And so I started giving it to people, and they all loved it. And now, man, we got customers that are buying it that don't have a beard or a tattoo, but they like how it smells.
Okay.
It helps some debilitating skin conditions, such as dermatitis, which covers, you know, your rosacea, I believe it's rosacea, what was the other one? Psoriasis. It helps to soften and really helps to not get rid of, but really helps soften scars, whether they're acne scars or whatever. So, you know, we've got one customer who uses this on her daughter's hands out in North Carolina because they crack and bleed so much, and they've tried all the steroids from the doctors and all the creams, and nothing worked. And then they started using our oil, and lo and behold, boom, you know, her hands don't crack and bleed. You know, she's comfortable at school. She's not embarrassed. She sleeps well. So, you know, while it started out as being a fun thing, now it's turned into something real, and it's turned into something that's helping people. And for me, and probably like most other adults, that's really what you need. You need to know that you're helping somebody, you're making a difference, and I'm just ecstatic to be able to be a part of that, you know?
Right.
Well, I got a bottle. It's probably about a month and a half ago from Jeremy, and I get the one tattoo I use it for, and you know, the tattoos I have is what year is this? 2017. It's 34 years old, and as we all know, with age, you know, tattoos will start fading in that, and you know, it's actually helped bring some life back into it, and I forget to do it tonight, but actually I found what works best. As soon as I get out of the shower and dry my arm off, I put the oil on the, you know, I oil up the tattoo there, because when you know, once you get out of the shower like that, your pores are wide open anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yep.
And so I'll put a few, you know, a little bit. I'll put some oil on there, and I do that and work it into around the tattoo area. And I found it's made a difference. It's brought some life back to the tattoo. It's not, you know, it's not still fading away like it was before, you know. So, and I think I told you that, Jeremy. You could really start reading the text again. It reminds me of the Cab Scouts through my eagle there. And they got to the point the text was hard to read versus Cab Scout. But I've noticed it's brought some life. You know, that's why I really noticed it brought life back to it. You know, all the colors are, you know, what few colors are in there besides the blue. It's a lot of the greens come back. The only thing I lost was with age. It was just had a little bit of red eye around the eagle's eye, and that's gone now. But that's not surprising. So
yeah,
I can't notice it.
And here's the thing, you know, and I'm super happy that it's helping. At the end of the day, it's all about moisturizing, whether you're hydrating from the inside or from the out. You know, keeping your skin's the biggest organ on your body, right?
Right.
And you got to keep it hydrated. You know, and you know, we get a lot of damage that's done to our hair and skin, and I know that's a weird thing for, you know, an ex-military guy to be talking about. But when you've got thousands of dollars and years of artwork on you, and you know, you want to preserve it. You know, my wife and a lot of women use the product now as a hair oil.
Okay.
We sell it in salons. They use it as a moisturizer before they go to bed, before they put their makeup on. It's really become a sort of a crazy thing for us.
Well, you know, my other son, you don't know him, Jeff's older brother, John. Him and my granddaughter went by last weekend, and apparently sometimes he surprises me. But he was following on. We got talking. He didn't realize you lived here in Troy. He knew who you were. And I don't know if he's got oil, but he's really interested. And I got talking, and I mentioned he knew your name. And I said, "He lives in Troy here?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Goddamn, he's the one Jeffrey's been coaching football with." Oh, okay. I was like, "Wake up, boy."
Damn.
Well, it's funny because I've started to get to the point now to where when I'm out, I do get some people that ask, hey, are you this guy? And and it's getting to that point where it's a little weird. It's still neat for me. It's very novel. But I've had a couple people come up and ask to take selfies with me with their phones, and it's weird. But people don't look at a little rural suburb of St. Louis as doing anything like this. And I'm glad you brought this up because as a young kid, when I did live in this area, I got so tired of hearing about Chicago and New York and L.A. and the East Coast and West Coast. I got so sick of being influenced from the East and West Coast that I said, you know what? As I got older, I said, how can I help influence from St. Louis out? Because St. Louis has had a bad rap for a while. There's a lot of racial divide.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of poverty or wealth gap. There's a lot of issues. And at the end of the day, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. My kids are here. So why not help to create some really cool product or service from St. Louis and try to get that out as far and wide as possible? And, man, we make sure everybody knows where it's from. I mean, right on our site, on our box, on our bottle, it's got the bi-state St. Louis, Missouri outline with a nice little fleur-de-lis right on the St. Louis area there. We really do want to influence from the middle out.
Okay.
And I think that it started to happen. And not only just with what I'm doing, but the people in this area are very, very loyal to value. And they're very loyal to good local businesses. So you've got the micro beer or the microbrewing explosion happening, and St. Louis is one of the best spots in the nation for that. They're influencing from the middle out. So that kind of thing is very near and dear to me.
We got the best baseball team, Levi might argue.
Oh, yeah, I don't agree with that, Thomas. No.
By the way, the last time the Cardinals and Braves... Hey, by the way, Levi, last time the Cardinals and the Braves played, Cardinals took the series 3-0. Jerry,
you're right.
I'm change subjects. Speaking of baseball, Levi, like me, is a baseball fanatic.
Yeah,
you
love
know who
it.
Hank Aaron is, right?
Who's that?
Jeremy?
What's that?
You know who Hank Aaron is, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty much Levi's neighbor, by the way.
Yeah, he's one of my friends.
So, but see, Levi, before you were born, or not Levi, Jesus, before you were born, what do I say? Jeremy, before you were born, that's when, in 1974 is when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record. I remember because I was like 11 or 12 years old and was on spring break, and I remember watching it on TV. And in fact, Sammy Davis Jr. offered $75,000 for that for ball 715. I don't know if Levi remembers.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
So, but yeah, when he broke it, but speaking of baseball, the umpires don't get a name for himself. Former Major League umpire Bill Howard lives in Brownstown. He's a member of my VFW post and a good friend of mine. And he's more noted for being recorded cussing out old Earl Weaver back in 1980.
I love that. I love that video on YouTube. Yes, I used to make all my umpire watch that video too.
And by the way, Bill still cusses the story because I've been cussed out many a times by him. I get called all kinds of nice things for Bill when he doesn't always agree with me, but I agree. That's one thing. St. Louis is home for me too, Jeremy, because we moved to North County when I was 4 years old, and that's part of the reason I came back after being gone so many years. Besides having my parents were here, which is just mom now, and I got one brother here, but St. Louis has always been home, and I agree. St. Louis has always got a riff, and I hear people say that. I say, you just don't know St. Louis. And I say, there's a lot of good that comes out of here.
Yeah, there's some good, genuine, quality people.
But Jeremy, Where can someone purchase your product?
Well, they first and foremost they can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or they can find our website at barrelbeardandtattoo.com. That's barrel. Okay. Barrelbeardandtattoo.com.
Okay, Barrel Beard and Tattoo. Okay.
You'll find a nice little story about who we are and what we do. A lot of journaling of our products, a lot of photographs of how we do what we do, and you can find local retailers and whatnot where we're currently selling at. Yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You need to get me some more info. Where we can run it on the radio for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Since you're in the bathroom with Thomas every day.
Oh my goodness.
So,
well, hey, who else? I mean, we are related, right?
Right.
I understand. So, yeah.
So you got to send me some info.
And I'll repost it again when I update about Jeremy being on Tuesday night. But where I posted that we were recording Jeremy on Facebook, I posted a link to the Facebook page and to the website there.
Okay. So, you did? Okay.
But I'll repost it too on our Facebook page, and so. But yeah, Jeremy, just like I said, we talked before too. People could listen in, and hear everything on the radio show, and I've told you how they can do that. Plus, I always post that. But yeah, I was intrigued by the oils when you started it, because my biggest thing is, personally, when you started, got the business going, I was interested because I was looking for some way to keep my tattoo from fading with age. And so, it's definitely one of the few products out in the market space that can be used for 3-4 different things. Guys are using it in their hair, women are using it in their hair, guys are using it on their beards, their skin. Some guys don't even have a beard or tattoos, and they're just using it as a moisturizing cologne. Mm-hmm. Because you do get a very, very pleasant aroma from that barrel aging and then the other natural ingredients that we use. But it's funny because we're talking a lot about that company. It's been very, very good for me. It probably could have been any company, to be honest, guys. But I got to tell you, man, I really needed something to focus my energy on. Outside my day job, because as much as I love the people I work with in my day job and I love what I do, it's not mine, and it's not I could leave that company tomorrow and they'll find somebody else to do what I do. I leave my company and it just stops. My family needs that to go on. I need it to go on. Right. It's something that I just really needed something, and it's funny because we were at an event yesterday in the St. Louis area. It was a ruck march for fallen, brothers and sisters in arms, and we were there talking to a lot of other military folks and law enforcement folks, and somebody asked me, why are you doing this if you got a day job? And I said, because I needed somewhere to focus my crazy. And that's just what I call it. Because if I don't have something to focus that on, and I mean laser focus, whenever I turn off the computer at the end of my normal duty day for the day job, that's a lot of hours left still that I'm going, all right, I get angry too easy, I get anxious too easy, I start thinking about all the bad stuff I shouldn't think about. Right. So what better way to prevent that? And I'm not trying to bury it. I'm not trying to go and stash it in a closet somewhere. But I can't dwell on it, Yeah, well, it's finding something to keep you busy from dwelling on it. And I trust me, I understand that. In fact, Levi does. That's how he got started doing the radio stuff.
Yep.
Levi himself.
I wasn't aware of that. Levi, what prompted that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we was we're trying to get a Veteran Day program, and then I seen Thomas. What happened? I went to the Facebook page, the Career Agent Orange, and I seen some writing from Thomas. So I said, I hope I can get Thomas on the show. I called him, and then it went about 3 months. We didn't do anything. Then we just hooked back up. And Thomas Thomas know everybody, Jeremy, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it been a success, Jeremy, because Thomas really brought it.
Right.
Well, I tell you the one thing, we got sidetracked with the veterans thing because I think the first time we talked, we got so involved with baseball.
Yeah, we did.
When Levi got back home with me, I didn't even realize he served in Korea, or kind of forgot, because when we talked, we just got so indulged in baseball. And
we talked for a while, that's right.
Most of baseball's been a big part of our lives, so, and, Jeffrey's a football freak, by the way.
Oh, is it?
No, Jeremy.
Are you, Jeffrey?
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because we haven't mentioned that, but I do know Tom. And the reason I know Tom is because I'm a head coach for a youth football team here in Troy, Illinois.
Okay.
The Troy Titans football and cheerleading club. And Tom's son, Jeff, they transitioned here from their previous town. And Jeff was a football player, and he came here, and I'm sitting down with this young man, and he just wants to help coach. He's in one of our board and our coach meetings, and I'm looking at him, and I'm listening to him. I'm going, man, if nobody else grabs this guy, I'm gonna grab this guy, and I'm gonna have him take over my line for me. And I tell you what, and I'm not blowing smoke here, Tom, good job, brother, because your son he's an outstanding young man, and we couldn't be more happy, more proud to have him part of our staff. And I know the circumstances weren't exactly right, but I'm real glad we're going to get him back again this year. So thank you for creating and developing such an outstanding young man.
Well, he's so passionate about football. By the way, he can't play baseball, but football is his passion.
Okay.
And he does play some old-time baseball still. In fact, we got a game, I think, next weekend. And but yeah, he's passionate about it. I tell you what, Jeremy, I know we got kind of sidetracked, but and Jeffrey's born a military child. Jeffrey spent his first 5 years and 8 months growing up in Korea.
Okay.
And so his mother's Korean. Of course, Jeffrey shows his Korean in his face. He's got his, believe it or not, Jeremy, he gets his height from his Korean side. You might not believe that if you see my 4'11" wife.
There you go, Jeremy.
Her dad was like 6'4". I'm 5'8", right? And her dad's 6'4". When I first time met her dad back in the early '90s, he towered over me. It's like, that's one of the bigger damn Koreans I ever saw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's tall for Korea. That's right. 6'4".
But no, the kid knows the game well. It's funny. Sometimes he gets me lost. And it's surprising. And he says he don't, but he has a photographic memory. I mean, he remembers, the meticulous parts of the game. And I'm sure you've heard it from him, Jeremy, because I know Jeffrey sometimes gets upset. This is the way they act. Because trust me, I hear the bitch in Jeremy when he get home because he didn't like something. Well, they need to do it this way, Dad. I said, well, tell him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But
that's why we were pretty successful last year there towards the end of the year, because those communications channels were wide open,
Yeah, well, and he the thing he knew he was the youngest, and he knows by his raising, you have respect for your elders, for your older people, and being the youngest. And sometimes he was afraid he would cause a ruckus. I said, I told him, sometimes you just got to step up and let them know and tell them how it is. I said, a lot of times people just don't know until you speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. Of course, his old man's not afraid to speak up. And of course, sometimes I speak up when I shouldn't, but oh well.
That's right.
But no, I'm glad. I enjoyed it last year. I mean, we had a good run, and so he had a good run at the end there. And no, but he's very passionate, and football. The football's just him. And I think the kid, if he really applied himself, he need to look at a coach at least high school level, because I think he could do it better than most.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, I absolutely think so. Yeah, I tell you what, man, those boys on that football team just, Levi and for your audience, because I know they don't know and they're not aware, but the organization that we coach for is so neat. They let the coaching staff move up with the kids.
Okay.
So you could theoretically get your kids at 5, 6 years old and have them all the way up until the time they're going into 8th grade.
Well, Jerry,
go ahead.
Yeah, they do that here too. They'll start off with them like in baseball and football. They'll start with T League and take them all the way up.
And I think it's outstanding because you can form a bond and a relationship with these kids. And we really try to teach these kids a brotherhood and a camaraderie, much like that you find in the service, right?
Right.
We teach them that we don't care if they win or if they lose. It's fun. It's a lot more fun if you win. But I'll be damned if I don't see you on the street and you don't say hello, coach, or hello, sir, and shake the hand. And when you go home, you do the same thing. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And we've been told by a few parents that they do see a difference, and that means the world to me. I mean, we could go, 0-9, 0-10, 0 whatever, and if those kids are good contributing members of society when they start to grow up, then we've done our job.
Yeah,
all the other stuff is just gravy.
Right.
The one thing is, I know Jeff, who is pretty much impressed with, and I am too. I get to know it because he knows I am about it. But almost all the coaches are veterans on that team. On this team.
Yeah,
No,
there's a large amount. We've got a couple Marines. We got a couple airmen. I don't think we tried to keep the Army guys out as much as we could.
Oh man! Oh no!
No, man. I don't think. Off the top of my head, I may be wrong. I don't think we've got. I know we've got an Army parent, but I don't think we got any Army on the staff. It's Marines and Air Force is what it is.
Yeah, I forget the kid's name. His dad just retired, I believe, from the Army. He was a mixed active duty reserves because I talked to him at the games. And
exactly.
Besides me being one of your coaches has an Army father and an Army brother.
Well, tell us.
Exactly. Well, and the reason for a lot of that, I think, is we're so close to Scott Air Force Base that influences a lot of people to join, even if it's not the Air Force, right? Because in this area at Scott, it's a big command base. We've got multiple headquarters there. Even Army, you got Transcom there. You've got the SDDC. You've got you've got all this stuff there. That draws in Navy, Marine Corps, Army, Air Force. So even if you don't go and join the Air Force, there's a big influence here from the military locally, and a lot of those folks come back, and when they come back, they pay it all forward,
Right. Well, Jeremy, I did.
That's one thing that impressed me about living in Troy is that you can see the influence of veterans here and how the town supported the veterans.
That's great.
And the military.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me, by the way.
And Jeremy, I did a lot of years of coaching of youth, boys and girls, and I appreciate all the sports. I appreciate a division too, in football, in college, and but I tell you what, I'm prior. I was fishing for about 43 years, on all levels. And after during that time, I was also coaching too, and and I got enjoyment out of coaching the kid. You can see that kid advance in life. That you get a big enjoyment from that.
Well, you do, and you know what? And speaking, I'm glad you said that, Levi, because for me, I played football as a kid.
Okay.
My father was never around. My father abandoned my mother and I right after I was born. So my mother, as I got older, she got me into youth football, and hell, she was young for all I know. It was a babysitter, but thankfully she got me into youth football.
Okay.
And whenever I come back home here, when we moved back home to the St. Louis area, I was playing for a local team called the Collinsville Raiders, and I was their quarterback. And their coach sort of took me in. He picked me up from my house, took me to practice every night, picked me up to take me to games, brought me home, took me to Steak and Shake with him and his wife and his son. Just treated me like I was theirs, you know?
Right.
And I was no superstar. It's not like he was going out of his way to pick some kid up from another town because, you know, it was talent. He was a good-hearted man. And whenever I graduated out of that program and went on into, you know, the local high school program, I told myself, one day I'd like to be able to give back like my coach did. And I've maintained a good, close relationship with his son, who just happened to be my center for all those years.
Okay.
So we were, you know, quarterback and your center got to be pretty close, right?
Right.
So, you know, and unfortunately, a couple of years ago, we lost Coach, and it was really sudden, and it hit us all really hard. But you know, we took my family to the funeral, and obviously, it was a very, very difficult time for me. But on the way back, all I could think about was, man, I got to do something to pay that part of my life forward.
Right.
And I stepped into this organization just not by accident. I was trying to get in there and do some assistant coaching. And then when the guy left that was coaching the team I was trying to get in on, he left, and they called me in a panic and said, hey, we want you to take over the whole team. And I said, so let me get this right. I couldn't come in as an assistant coach, but now you're going to be the head coach? Okay.
A big jump, yeah.
Yeah. I'll be
Well, you know, hey, Jeremy.
And thankfully they're still letting me do it because, man, those boys, and I'm not kidding you, Levi. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but because of the guilt that I've carried for so many years of losing some people,
okay,
and the guilt of sort of leaving my post, if you will, before my duty was over, is how I feel. Those boys sort of saved me.
right,
I'm not saying my wife and my own kids haven't done their part, but there's something very, very meaningful as an adult that feels like he didn't finish something to be able to pick back up with a bunch of 7, 8, 9-year-old boys and try to teach them what's right and try to make them better young men. That really has done wonders for me. And it's not going to be lost on me ever. You know, it means a hell of a lot to me.
Yeah.
wow,
You know, they were trying to get, you grabbed a Jeffrey, Whatchamacallit was trying to get Jeffrey to take the 6-year-old team or the first level.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeffrey goes,
sure, yeah.
Jeffrey goes, oh, hell no. He goes, I don't want, he goes, I'm 21. I just want an assistant coach right now. I don't want to take on a full load. And, because he wanted him to do it last year. But no, I'm glad you grabbed him up. He enjoys it. I enjoy it. I have fun, going out watching. Everybody goes, where's your son? He's the one that's coaching.
Yeah, exactly.
And then look, man, it's like, hey, I've been dealing with youth football for several years, and I said I still enjoy. To me, I enjoy watching those young kids play more than the damn NFL. You can throw the NFL out. We already
right.
We don't have Rams anymore. But you can throw out the NFL, and I enjoy watching those young kids playing more than anything. And I had with my son, I helped coach a little bit when it's junior football, but they had a hell. Jeffrey's team had a hell of a run from the time he was 10 till. Or his grade, I should say, him and his group had a run all the way through school, and they were a hardcore bunch of boys. And you talk about the camaraderie, those kids, they reminded me of the military so much in that way because, a lot of them were friends. Even if they weren't friends, they got along, but they all went to school together, they played together, and for several years, it built a hell of a team that ran through Vandalia. And to me, that was the last strong team that's still gone through. Even though they went 8-2 last year, it was not the conference was down. It was not the team that Jeffries was 5 years ago. So,
Sure.
Okay. Well, fellas, we got about 2 minutes. We got about 2 minutes left. The time go by real quick.
My goodness. So, Levi, what you got for me, buddy? What else you got?
I just need to get your script for your product. You need to send it to me, and I get the word out.
Yeah, right on, man. I'll do that.
Just send me a script, and call Thomas. He got all my email. He got my email and everything, and we can go from there.
Yeah, Jerry knows where I live.
Hey, Jerry, you keep Thomas straight, right? Keep him straight, Jerry. Keep Thomas straight.
I'm doing my best, but
I know that's
stubborn, man.
I know that's a hard ass job. Yeah.
Hey, listen. Sometimes Tom sees an extra kid on the team. I mean. Yeah, man.
Oh man. Right.
I consider all my parents just extra kids on the team. They just happen to be on the other side of the fence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can, and I'm gonna keep trying to focus on that and all the good stuff. So, I don't get bogged down with all the bad stuff.
Well, I take my hats off to you.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. I really do.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, Levi said, I hate to cut it off, but for a recap point, but I want to say, Jeremy, thank you for coming on. We would love to have you back on sometime.
Anytime.
We do rotate guests, but we appreciate you coming on, and we always appreciate having other veterans on. And like I said, you being our first Air Force veteran, it's been an honor to do that. And we're always working. If you're running somebody who's willing to talk or want to talk about their careers on radio, I mean, to slide my information to them, they get hold of me, and we don't want
I've already got somebody in mind for you, buddy. I got you.
Army.
I got you an Army. I believe he was a Sergeant Major EOD guy.
Okay.
Oh, very cool. Well, we like having the common guys on. Common being we're not of course, we ain't CNN, which just forbid I would be with them. But we ain't CNN. We ain't trying to get the big brass on. We just we like having the common soldiers so they could talk about what they did. And that'll be good. We don't have a problem having the sergeant major on. And so, by the way, I have to ask this before we go, Jeremy. You guys, the Air Force, know what RUC means? RUC march?
Hey, man, come on now. Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Well, you said RUC march. Hey, the Air Force, he knows what that is?
Oh, come on, man. I tell you what. That whole thing about the chair force and this and that, I know it's there because I've seen it, but I'll be damned if that's what me and all my brothers and sisters did, man. We're shit. Yeah, we were right there next to y'all. Trust me, man. I know.
I gotta give you crap.
Hey, there was many a time where we went in and set up perimeters and comms, and then the Army comes in. All right, we're here. Like, thanks a lot.
That's the way we do it. That's the way.
That's her rent folks that take over the rents.
Right.
Yeah. But I tell you what, guys, I know we got to wrap this up. I don't care what uniform you wear, whether you're a first responder, whether you're Army, Coast Guard, whatever you are, man. I love them all, and I hold everybody in the highest regard when you put somebody else before yourself, no matter what. And
I agree.
I hope that the men and women that are listening to this understand that, and all that camaraderie and that banter that we do between service. You know as well as I do, fellas, that when it really matters, that every one of us has got the other one's back, and that's what I love the most about this stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Right on.
Thanks again, Jeremy, and back to you, Levi. You're the senior man.
I don't know about that, but I want to thank everyone for listening in to the Veteran Hour, and we look to hear from you next week. Good night. New Love Groove.